Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 2 of Punch Time Explosion XL Cartoon Network. You know, it's a complicated title. You know, Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion Extra Large. This is the second episode of our Deadmen Plays Let's Play of the series. So if you haven't checked out episode 1 yet, go ahead and click the annotation box, and that'll take you to our first episode. In the meantime, let's start back up.
Choose a character.
Last time on Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion XL. Yeah, for those guys who don't remember, we're currently... we just unlocked Knuckles from Misadventures of Flapjack. We are currently in the Flapjack universe right now, and Dexter is trying to recruit us to stop the evil menace that we don't quite know what it is yet, but we're going to find out. Now, as you can see, they're continually going with the you know, characters turned evil aesthetic throughout this thing.
Hi, friend.
And the problem is that I mean, not really the problem. I just it does get a little annoying after a while, but at the same time, you know, in a fighting game like this, instead of going with generic enemies constantly, sooner or later you need to be able to have people to fight against. And it's not necessarily bad in this context, but this is, you know, a little bit before it got completely overdone. But I don't mind it as much here. It is still, though, like I said before, the surrealness of how they match up all these characters together is kind of neat. You know, like, even more than, like, kind of the Smash Bros. Effect. I know they're the kind of ones that got it first, but for some reason, just seeing Pikachu and Mario in the same universe doesn't feel quite as surreal as seeing Gilgax and Captain Knuckles in the same universe. It shouldn't feel more more surreal, but it still does. I haven't played much with Knuckles' fighting style yet. We're gonna see how he plays. I'm actually getting some assist trophies here I don't recognize. That doesn't happen often. Now Knuckles has a special move here. Let's check out what it is. Oh, we got his team up move. You actually will have two of them. So there's a barrel explosion. The trick with the special moves is that each character technically has two of them. One of them is their normal, and the other one is technically an assist special move. Every character in the game has essentially sort of like a guardian character that follows along with them that will allow you to access some other super move. For example, I never used it with Buttercup, but apparently hers is Major Glory from the Super Friends, which is cool, but man, I cannot explain my disappointment that Major Glory isn't a normal character in this game, because he really needs to be. One of the funniest Captain America jokes I've ever seen. Oh, look, Candy Beard's back.
I'm a great adventurer.
So, as you guys remember, these levels go by pretty fast, but they're also just as entertaining. Looks like we have Usain number 1 now.
Number 1.
So I'm going to go ahead and use him as our primary, and I'm going to use Flapjack as our secondary. Oh, we get 3. Nice. So that would leave us with Captain Knuckles as our third. Now, hopefully as we get on here, we'll get to some more of the properties I know a little bit more about. Kids Next Door know quite a bit, actually, about. I watched Kids Next Door for quite a while when it first premiered. and was, I don't say religious with it, but I watched quite a bit of it. They had a good cast of characters. Their supporting cast was really good. I think it did a good job of fitting into the
I'm speaking from experience here. and
usually
you don't
difficult
wanna
to
go
manage,
all the way down Plato's mouth.
ooh, like a legit boss battle. Nice. They fall into an area of, you know, they're not quite for really young kids, but not quite for teenagers, kind of in between, which is, don't get me wrong, is a really hard demographic to appeal to, but I think Kids Next Door did all right. You know, they took the stereotypical cooties humor and stuff like that, and they actually came up with a way to make it more creative in and of itself. And I think that's something to strive towards when you're dealing with trying to make not so kiddie entertainment, for lack of a better word. You know, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to put any show on this list on, like, you know, like Batman animated status or anything crazy like that, but at the same point, I got to give credit where credit's due.
That was an adult-sized ball!
But they did a good. I do like the villains they pulled from the show. I do believe that they got maybe a little bit too much credit in this game. They like I said, most of the shows that this game has characters for are from older shows, but a lot of the duplicates are from newer shows, which is understandable. But at the same point, you kind of wish that it was the you got some older characters every now and then. Oh, that's never gonna get old.
Oh, what's happening?
Love the
Okay,
cutscenes.
just stop somewhere and let me watch something. I feel like I accidentally hit the DVR button one too many times. Hey, real nice job at not losing.
So as you can see, we're starting to get a little bit more of a piecemeal of the story where you can see that the different Cartoon Network worlds are connected by some sort of connected mythos between them, which I guess is kind of cool. How do I get to number one? I already picked him.
Flapjack.
I'll do Flapjack second.
Captain
I don't like the
Purple.
character variations very often. Each of them does have like a special actual alternate uniform you unlock eventually, but it's not necessarily something that I pay much attention to. Some of them are kind of neat, like the Powerpuff Girls get to play as the Rowdy Rough Boys or so on and so forth. Anyways, like I was saying, so we got an idea now that the Cartoon Network worlds are connected through some sort of like central mythos, like some sort of central portal, but no idea of how to access it or what our villains are trying to accomplish with it. Now, speaking of characters who would have been awesome to get as DLC, you know, assuming this game actually had any interest in DLC, I wish this game actually would have gotten bigger, or could have done that. Obviously, other members of Kids Next Door would have been
They
a,
really mustn't punch you in there. A deflected projectile will probably trigger the door, so you can show them how right they probably were.
you know, the other members of Codename Kids Next Door would have been very easy, easy pickings for future installments. But at the same point, there's also plenty of other characters in other series. I wish there was a couple more villains in this game. Let's see, now that we're on the topic here, I might as well talk a little bit about, you know, characters I wish were in this. Couple more villains. I wish that... I don't think Dial M for Monkey is in this game. He seems like a weird one not to be, so I kind of think he is, but I don't remember off the top of my head. I could be wrong. Other than him... Ben's sister, Gwen, the one with psychic powers, I think she was a absolute shoo-in for another character slot, but sadly didn't get one. Not too many female characters other than the Powerpuff Girls, but I guess that's all right, I guess. I'm just happy we got the Powerpuff Girls, who surprisingly feel different from each other, but we'll get to that once we unlock some of the other Powerpuff Girls later. Trying to think who else could have made a good character. I wish they would have actually been able to pull more of their Warner Brothers licensing. That would have been amazing. And we have our Diddy Kong clone. Of course, it's a little bit more lame because it's just pepper spray with a couple of explosions attached. But you see, this game isn't really, you know, like, as far as like comparing this to Smash Brothers, if they would have just had the ragdoll physics a little bit nicer, maybe a little bit nicer frame rate, and this could have been amazing. Because the character animations and their interactions with one another are actually pretty good. And the mini bosses are pretty good too for the most part. And look, even the quick time events aren't too gratuitous. They're easy, but they're not gratuitous. They're not like overhyped. And I like the idea of the level traversal, where it's kind of not all in one place, and the Kids Next Door treehouse actually feels like a giant fortress rather than just one little treehouse. That's kind of nice. Oh boy, gotta be careful. I'm trying to think other characters that would have been good in this game. I mean, now some of them have teams that only singular members or so on and so forth get involved into. But like I said, if they would have gotten the Warner Brothers licensing in, that would have given the main one would have been Freakazoid. You know, although it aired on the WB, really got its mainstay as reruns on Cartoon Network. And the fact that, to my knowledge, there's never actually been, you know, any form of official Freakazoid video game is absolutely heartbreaking, as it's one of my favorite shows of all time. I mean, even characters from that show would have been amazing. I mean, with the Warner Bros. Licensing, they could have pulled in Teen Titans characters. They could have pulled in some of their other extended shows. I know some people argue that there's some characters still from the cartoon era that could have gotten in here, but some of them I don't think are quite as necessary. I don't need to see Cow and Chicken as a team-up duo. You know, I don't need to see... who else was it? I mean, some of them are even as stretched as they are. Like, you know, I can't imagine how much work it took to get Johnny Bravo to a point where he was, you know, a working combatant character rather than just being... you know, the character that he is, which I have to admit, like, I know it's kind of a weird thing to say, but like looking back at Johnny Bravo cartoons, the old Johnny Bravo cartoons are a lot more uncomfortable to watch than some of the later stuff. Like the first, for lack of a better term, the first couple of cartoons in that lineup are a lot more rapey than the new ones, where instead of just randomly flirting with women and kind of just street harassing, he's literally like grabbing women off the street and forcing them to make out with him, and then he gets slapped. So, I mean, I guess I'm glad he gets his comeuppance, but at the same point, like, as cool as it was to have a show like that, you know, that kind of didn't do the whole cooties thing, watching Johnny Bravo now, no denying it was funny or that it had good characters, morally speaking, not quite so confident in how well it holds up. But at the same point, though, I'm glad this show didn't come out in later years, because, I mean, although there's some characters in current Cartoon Network I feel would have been great in this game, there's some that wouldn't have. Like Steven Universe, awesome in this game. Uncle Grandpa, shoot me now. Man, you want to talk about shows I don't understand on Cartoon Network. My goodness. I know a lot of it is them trying to recapture the surrealist era in this show, but at the same point, like, I just don't. After a while, I just don't get it. I'm trying to think of what was which network as far as, like, what shows would have been applicable for this. 'Cause I think Ren and Stimpy was Cartoon. I know Two Stupid Dogs was Nickelodeon. I think Ren and Stimpy was Cartoon Network. I could be wrong. Oh, we got a snake couple. You see, although I like the combat in Subspace Emissary, I always felt that the platforming in it was kind of lackluster. And I feel like with this, it might be a little bit of the opposite. The combat isn't the most exciting. It does the job done, but the platforming in this is a lot better. Not more difficult, but just better. It's it feels like you need to have your brain turn on a little bit more than the combat. The enemy arrangements, I do appreciate that they change them up a little bit every now and then, but not as much in their behavior. Not to mention, unlike the, we don't play it here, but unlike the Subspace Emissary, you actually can do 4-player co-op campaign in this game. Which I'll admit is a little bit too hectic to actually get anything done. But at the same point, you know, it's an option. It's a really good option, and the ability to quick swap between whoever wanted to use makes it so your best character isn't necessarily locked off to you. Oh boy, lost a life. I think we're gonna play some Knuckles for a little bit, just to give you guys something else to look at every now and then. His moveset is strange. It is very bizarre because he's got this duplicate thing, and then like a spin up, and then a ground pound. But that normal special, so strange. So strange. But, I mean, okay, so I said last time I didn't know if the roster actually reached 20. It actually turns out the roster is 26. They're not all great characters, but there's quite a few really good ones. Always can beg for more, though. You know, I've spent a lot of the time on this particular run talking about that than anything else. Mainly because I'm still waiting for us to get another new show. That's been like kind of a main way to keep things interesting on this particular Let's Play, is talking about the individual shows that show up. But I don't want to. I want to kind of talk about them as they come up. Now I do like the sort of the kids spy show aesthetic that Codename Kids Next Door pulls off, and they do pull off a pretty good group of characters as a whole. And the constant acronym thing, the fact they were able to carry that as long as they were, I'm actually quite impressed, to be honest. How everything stood for something, and even when it was, you could say like screwdriver, and it's like super conductive, radioactive, elemental, whatever. I'm not as creative. I can't quite come up with it quite as well as they can, but you do what you can. Oh great, now I decide to use it, and now he's shown up, and let's try some flapjack just to change things up. Ooh, these guys are getting tough. Is that a counter? Holy cow, they actually have a counter move in this game. It is a tickle counterattack that does crazy damage. I never thought this game was going to be that complicated. Who knew that, like, flapjack is the Marth of this game? Who could have possibly predicted that? saying by any means that I'm complaining, but at the same point, like, that's pretty cool. And the counter can move both directions depending on where you point and where you're aiming. Ugh. I mean, Flapjack might not have the firepower some other characters have, but he's a pretty heavy hitter when you know how to use him. Problem is, these guys just do so much crazy damage. And unlike the normal campaign, you're dealing with health bars instead of knockout, so. I actually even like the strategies of the team-up characters they give you. Usually they give you about 2 or 3, but...
Flapjack, Captain Knuckles. Number 1.
Let's see what the next level has in store for us.
Sticky Beard's pirates have overrun the treehouse. Wow. Pirates, secret bases, candy legs. This show has everything. Kids next door.
Oh, now we got a horde mode. Nice. All right, so you know, all credit to Smash Brothers where credit is due. I mean, pulling off a story like that with no dialogue is also really impressive. At the same point, when you do have as Cartoon Network all the characters who not only have dialogue, but kind of their dialogue is one of the main cruxes of their show. I mean, being direct animation, it kind of does make sense that that they try a little bit harder as far as how their storytelling components are concerned. And I do like the way that they portray story in this game. Let's go try someone else with a little bit more firepower in them. These guys need to get knocked down.
Sometimes it takes 2 to tango.
Ooh, we got our first team up. Yeehaw! Yeehaw! Ho there! Woohoo! Yeehaw! Holy cow, is this fun! See, I don't see why all your specials don't work like that. I'll admit these cutscenes are a little bit long to play every single time, but at the same point, I'm like... they're still kind of fun. Oh, Dee Dee. Okay, now, wait, here we go. Another character that could have been an awesome character. Dee Dee could have been awesome. Mandar could have been awesome. Man, why isn't Mandar a character in this? If we're going to have, like, 3 or 4 3 Ben 10 characters, we can't get Mandar in here. One Dexter villain. It's the one guy from Chowder. I met that guy. John DiMaggio is the character, but I can't remember what the character's name is. Oh, he's the Wobbuffet of the game. Sorry, you guys are seeing a bunch of these. Just I'm trying to get through this as quick as possible, and the best way to do that is to just keep spamming special moves as far as they keep showing up. Boom! And he's dead. So if you guys have watched the Flapjack show, most of it is adventures looking for candy. So the fact that you have a candy beard villain in Kids Next Door makes a nice team up. I mentioned earlier, that's probably one of the main elements of this game I love the most, is how well they make the little team ups work between the different characters.
Number 1.
All right, now we're in a #1 exclusive mission. This should be interesting. Because I think while we're doing this, Flapjack and Knuckles are sneaking on board the ship. Oh, now we're fighting the Toilinator. Okay, I have to admit, as far as punchline villains are concerned, you know, ones that are just drawn in to be ridiculous and fun in that manner, Toilinator is probably a pretty good one. It's just never quite been one that I really enjoy. I think he's cool. I think he's kind of a funny villain. Does he need his own character slot? I really don't think so. I don't really think there's a large group of people who are out there saying, I want a main Toilinator. I really don't think that's a thing. See, really, like, Mandark has to go all the way. The guy deserves better than sidekick status. He deserves better than, you know, than assist trophy status. He really does. And I always keep forgetting there's actual weapons in this game because they don't show up very often. And the voice for a Toilinator is pretty annoying, too. Coco! No, Eduardo from Foster's, that would have been a great villain. I mean, not a great villain, a great character, I mean. The thing I like about Cartoon Network, though, is that I love the characters they picked, but the fact that there are so many more that they had available just showed how much potential this game could have had if games like this were better set up for long-term success. And there's nothing wrong necessarily with Cartoon Network going for the swift path. I don't think the sales for this were ever going to be good enough that they could have imagined getting like long-term going DLC and stuff like that. But same point, one can dream. Well, this is an interesting one. I've got a defend mission. The problem is that the cannon does not feel the nicest to aim, and this really should be an auto hit attack because, man, I don't. I've always been a stickler for, you know, like, I don't mind trying to add different kinds of challenge into a game, but like, I've never been for games where like the main crux of your challenge is how fast you can press the button. And I mean, some people argue, oh, it defers your focus. It, you know, it changes up your the way you think through the, you know, through the level. But I'm like, for me, it's just distracting. It's not fun difficulty. It's just. I just wish it was a little bit better. I wish that people would get over the fact that spinning a controller or pressing a button over and over again isn't necessarily difficulty.
The channel flipped just as it was getting really good. It was just like my favorite high-impact action soap, The Young and the Wrestlers. Looks like Dexter's up to something over here. Hey, wait a minute. Father? What's he doing here? But if Father is in the lab with Dexter, where did everyone else go? It's the city of Townsville.
All right, here we go.
Most amazing kindergarten superheroes, the Powerpuff Girls. Uh-oh, looks like Mojo Jojo's causing a big no-no. And somehow I'm rhyming. At least it sounded so-so. That hurt to even watch.
Another win for the kids next door.
Well, at least we don't have to fight more evil Powerpuff Girls. I just feel guilty about that. You can't just feel like, yay, just beat the crap out of the Powerpuff Girls. Alright, we're gonna do Bubbles first.
Blossom.
And Buttercup have dedicated their lives to fighting. For good. I mean, to fighting. What was it? Yeah, their lives to fighting. What was the lyric? It's like, their lives to fighting for good. For fighting.
It's the
I don't
city of
remember.
Townsville, home to the most amazing kindergarten super.
I'm Bubbles. I'm Buttercup. I'm Blossom.
This is gonna be a fun level. I can just tell. Ah, just look at how cute they look. Is the big bubble eyes. Okay, I need to start focusing on what my moves are. That's my standard BX. That's surprising. Alright, then I get quick dash. I mean, I always assume the Bubbles is probably going to be the faster, less powerful of the three, with a couple of exceptions on certain moves. But Powerpuff Girls are strong enough I don't use special attacks too often. It's good to know what they are. Oh, we got a Luigi spin. That's nice. Okay, now we can start talking about a show I know a little bit about. So, Powerpuff Girls was a crossover project between two very, very successful animators, Craig McCracken and Gendry Tarakovsky. Well, Tarakovsky came up with the idea and did the character models, and McCracken directed the show. Now, those names might sound familiar to some of you guys. Gendry Tarakovsky is responsible for quite a few of the most successful games on this list, such as Dexter's Laboratory, Samurai Jack, Powerpuff Girls, as I mentioned. But has done some more recent shows that have been really good. A couple years ago, he did a show called Symbionic Titan, which is probably the most unknown of his projects, but is extremely good. And I'll be talking about it probably on some podcasting or some sort of forum on the website, I am very sure, in the near future. But we'll see when that's going to happen. It's hard to use. Let's try Blossom for a little bit here. Suppose you guys remember from the show, Blossom is kind of the smarts of the group.
I need to regroup.
And then Buttercup is the rough and tumble. But, like, the thing I find fascinating, before we even get into, like, stuff that's good or bad about Powerpuff Girls, the thing I find fascinating about is how the show even got greenlit. I mean, so many people struggle in the media, especially Cartoon Network nowadays is a very bad reputation of trying to make shows that appeal to girls. Because they think that the entire demographic of television is all still young boys. And when you hear horror stories about shows like Young Justice literally getting canceled because too many girls are watching the show. Not because too many people are watching the show, but specifically too many girls are watching it. You know, there's this is not that they don't have an audience, but it's not the audience that they want is heartbreaking. So to think that back in the 90s and early 2000s, I think as early 2000s, Powerpuff Girls aired, that we actually had a show that featured a superhero team of three young girls. I find it fascinating and heartwarming, for lack of a better term. Oh, this is fun. This is all kinds of fun. I'm sorry, I don't mean to break out a commentary, but every now and then you run into something that's just the whimsy of this. It reminds me of that opening sequence, like I was kind of quoting there a second ago from the beginning of the show. I could play a whole shmup like this. I swear. This is just... There's so much whimsy here. I can't even understate. Anyways, the show of Powerpuff Girls itself, though, is probably one of the better Cartoon Network shows, and in my opinion, probably one of the best shows of Craig McCracken's career. Craig McCracken, on the other hand, I mentioned, he's also at the helm of shows like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and a couple other big Cartoon Network shows. Also, he's actually married to Lauren Faust. He's married to the girl who did My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. And from what I've heard from interviews with Tara Strong, the person who voices Bubbles, and Twilight Sparkle, they're like the most adorable couple in the world. I could only imagine. But there's a lot of things about that show that I really like. Not only do you not see the angle very often of the female superhero or the female-based show, you also don't see the single father very often, and the professor, who I really like, especially when you get into episodes that really talk about how he's all alone, or like you think about this guy's story where, you know, this is just a guy down in his luck who's just never been able to find love, and, you know, more than anything in the world, just wanted to have little girls he could take care of. And I don't find the idea of him creating his perfect little girls as questionable as most people do. I just think about it as like a guy who's just really alone. And I don't mind, the show doesn't take much, at least for the girls themselves, much thought into the idea of the creation of sentient life or anything like that. And I don't mind the fact that it does. There's actually one episode in particular, though, that gets kind of questioning with that. Well, there's two episodes in particular that talk about the idea of somebody else creating quote-unquote Powerpuff Girls. One of them is the Rowdy Rough Boys episode, which for a lot of people is a controversial one, because at the end of the episode, it kind of... they kind of win the day by using their own sex appeal, and they're kindergartners. I know it's supposed to come off as a, you know, boys defeated by cooties kind of thing, but it's... some of it is kind of hard to annoy the fact that it's... you know, kind of a kids-friendly version of the girls using their sex appeal in order to win the day. Not saying in particular I find that good or bad, but it's questionable to say the least. Ooh, we got a Pikachu strike out of Bubbles. I mean, out of Buttercup. Blossom, man, I know these characters. Why am I screwing up? And hopefully when we get a little bit farther here, we'll see one of our next special moves. Man, I love the textures of these worlds.
Superstar attack.
Ooh, nice. The music for this game is actually pretty spot on. And these levels, still very good. I like the fact that they are able to keep such a good art style throughout the game. I will admit that at first some of these characters, especially the Powerpuff Girls characters and ones like that of the more cartoony nature, can come off a little bit chibi at times. But the aesthetic actually kind of grows on you after a while. Especially because the backgrounds are a little bit more high contrast and a little bit more fun. The percentages, as you can tell, though, are nowhere near the percentages of Smash Brothers, as far as there's no relation between them. I'm at 279 right now, and I'm still barely flying. So that's not really a main concern. Now, it's kind of cool they give you the option of playing as Ben at this level, but I just feel it would be kind of weird. This is the first time I've gotten to play as most of the Powerpuff Girls, and I like to take the chance while I have. I got to play as Bubbles, or as Buttercup earlier, so let's play as Bubbles for a little bit. Bubbles was always my favorite. Bubbles is so cute compared to the other ones, and that cuteness you would imagine after a while would almost feel intoxicating, but I'm surprised at man, I cannot shoot today, at how much that doesn't really get annoying. Oh, that's the idea. I've got to knock him out before he gets to the buildings in front of me. Oh boy, I gotta hurry. But yeah, you'd think that that cuteness would get like intoxicatingly annoying after a while, but it doesn't really. I always have found it really entertaining. Oh, this is getting frightening. Oh, there we go. Is he down? Yeah, he's down. And also I feel like that Bubbles goes through the largest character development throughout the show. Now, technically, they're all siblings of the same age, but if you think about it, their personalities kind of imply a little bit of an age economy between the characters, where, you know, it's sort of implied that Bubbles is quote-unquote the youngest, and Blossom is the older mentor character, and then Buttercup is kind of the rebellious in-between character who doesn't, you know, sort of fighting out for her own identity, and kind of rejects the whole, you know, Powerpuff cuteness aesthetic of their team. And it shows off quite a bit in an episode where you actually get to see their character influences. I can't remember the name of it, but there's essentially an episode where all of them decide that they're going to be other characters. They all basically go into their own favorite comic books. Oh, it's the mayor! Powerpuff Girls! You need to come right away!
This is gonna be fun.
Bubbles. Woo! Laser eyes! Whee! Everything must die! Oh boy. 248, you start to move a little bit. You know, that doesn't do as much damage as I thought it would for as big of a wind-up as that has. I'm actually kind of disappointed at that. And now we have Bubbles unlocked in multiplayer. And Blossom.
I'm a superhero. Duh.
Yay! Man, I love Tarkovsky's work. I mean, Tarkovsky's one of my favorite animators of all time. And Powerpuff Girls is by far one of his best shows. Oh, we can't use Bubbles. I really wanted to use Bubbles.
Blossom.
Let's use Blossom for this mission. See, now when you got one character down, it's kind of interesting because now it's like a really tighter knit thing on which character you choose.
Hey.
I'm Blossom. Yes.
All right, so like I said, there's an episode in particular where, oh, is that a Buttercup clone? Why does that make any sense?
I'm here to help.
Am I defeating the Buttercup clone, or am I?
I go easy on you.
I think that's a evil clone created by Mojo Jojo. Would be my guess. I don't see how this battle is supposed to work. This is a little crazy. Hey, it's Fred Burger. Now, Billy and Mandy, they get a decent chunk of love in this game, but not until later on. Oh boy. I think they're all trying to kill me. Is that what's going on here? Can't tell. I think they're all trying to kill me for some reason.
I should have picked.
Nothing can stop me from saving Townsville.
I should have paid a little bit more attention to the story there. I would have known what was going on. Regardless, if I could finally finish this darn story.
Bubbles.
So they're all go into their own favorite comic books and have to choose kind of who they feel is going to be their favorite. And I'm trying to remember who all they pick. I mean, they're all analogs for real-life characters, but none of them are like the actual versions for copyright reasons. But Bubbles is a superhero equivalent of Hello Kitty. Buttercup is Spawn. And Blossom is either some weird mix between Captain America and Batman. I think she's supposed to be Batman. Because remember, the issue of the whole thing is that, I'm trying to remember what they're all named. I know that, Buttercup's character is called Nightshade, and she never fights the villain because she's only allowed to come out at night. And Blossom's has a Batmobile, and she never gets to the scene on time because of the fact that she has to drive her car and always gets caught in traffic. Ah, Van Halen! Nice. I think and Buttercup, Blossom. Why do I keep getting them wrong? Okay, Blossom's thing is that she travels, since she's so adorable and cute with her character, she has to travel everywhere by pogo stick. So, that's kind of the joke running of the episode, is that it's sort of like a, be yourself kind of thing, where they find out that they're better superheroes by themselves than they are trying to imitate and be other superheroes. Which is kind of a good lesson in and of itself, and I enjoy the episode as a whole. If I could just land. There we go. But anyways, like I was saying a ways back, speaking of levels in the game that, a ways back I was talking about episodes of the show that talk about the idea of sentient life. The one of them, like I said, was the one where Mojo creates the Rowdy Rough Boys, and end up getting destroyed. And the other one is actually one where they create a fourth Powerpuff Girl named Bunny, but the experiment goes wrong and she's kind of demented, and she's kind of unable to live, and in her, not necessarily in her stupidity, but in like the only intelligence she really has, she kind of destroys herself to save the other Powerpuff Girls, and it's a morbid episode. Okay, I see it now. Okay, so Dial M for Monkey is on the list.
Blossom. Bubbles. Buttercup.
And once again, we're going to take Ben with us, because I don't like playing as Chowder. Sue me. Anyways, it's a really morbidly dark episode. I'm trying to think if I have a favorite episode of Powerpuff Girls, I would say.
And so, once again, the day has been saved, thanks to the Powerpuff Girls. I always wanted to say that. Foster's home for imaginary friends. Well, at least this place should be easy for our heroes. How bad can a place be that has friends right in the title? Uh-oh.
This should be an interesting one.
Oh, great. Poor Chowder has to explain what's been happening so far to Mac and Blue.
Okay, so right before we finish with Bubbles and them, I want to talk very briefly about favorite Powerpuff Girls episode, which I'm probably going to guess is the episode with him where they take a day off and they go into this weird alternate reality where the Powerpuff Girls never existed and the world's been turned to nothing. No, actually, wait. No, that's not my favorite episode. My favorite episode is the one where they all underestimate Bubbles, and Bubbles goes into the machine and turns it up to level 11, and it just fights all the monsters on her own, and people discover that Bubbles is actually the strongest of the three when she's angry. She kind of has that Saiyan complex.
Hey.
Really good episodes, but let's beat this up real quick, and then we'll unlock some new characters. Hey, there's Mr. Harriman. Oh man, it has been so long since I've seen. It has been way too long since I've seen Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. I'd give more comment on it, but only because we're gonna cut it off after this, and I think we're gonna start the new episode with the reveal of a new team, new world to explore. Major glory. No, not just as fruit pies, delicious treat you'd have to be crazy to hate. Do I give up? Man, I miss Super Friends so badly. There's only like 9 episodes, but they're all so good.
Yeah. That puts you in your place.
Man, even this world, like where everything is a little bit more Art Deco and everything's a little bit, I wouldn't say nicer looking, it's a little bit more realistic for Foster's. I mean, that's kind of the contrast of the whole thing, is that there's sort of like this weird Victorian look to the background of everything, despite the fact that the actual worlds around them, I mean, the characters in them are still cartoony and ridiculous. And I really love that very unique art style that Craig McCracken creates in that. And we'll save our data right here.
Mac and Blue.
And we have our next world to explore. But in order to do that, you'll have to tune in next time to Deadmen Plays, Cartoon Network, Punch Time Explosion, Extra Large. Same time, same channel. Well, not exactly same time, as we don't upload this on a steady schedule, but yes, same channel on the YouTubes. Please feel free to like and subscribe below, and check out more content at deadmeninc.com. Links available in the description. Until next time, I am your over-the-top narrator, signing off. Life doesn't give you enough opportunities to use over-the-top narrator voice. Sometimes you just have to create your own. I'm Ken Johnson with Deadmen Plays. I will see you guys next time.